Hi guys, welcome to our 3D modeling tutorial. My name is Kostas. I am an architect and I specialize in architectural visualization. Today I'm going to guide you through creating a modern kitchen island. This island is the heart of our kitchen. It features a sink, a dishwasher, and an induction hob. I'm going to be using 3ds Max. We'll cover some essential poly modeling techniques, but these tips work in any 3D software. Let's go. As you can see, here in the viewport, I have already built the kitchen island, and in the exploded version of it, we can see the key components. It is the metal framework with vertical columns or posts and transverse longitudinal beams, the inox countertop with the sink opening, and our cabinets, our woodwork, which includes doors, telescopic drawers, side panels, and the back covering. Let's get started. I'm gonna hide this. So, every 3D model begins with a simple shape. What I like to do is create a box. This is gonna be the foundation of everything we're gonna model in this tutorial. To create the box, you can go to the command panel, the create tab, standard primitives, and choose box. You can create a box by clicking anywhere in the viewport and dragging. I click and drag. I have created a box. Next thing, we set the dimensions of our kitchen island. The height is 92 centimeters. The length is 240 and the width is 90 centimeters. Now that we have our box, we can collapse it into an editable poly. So we can shape it further by adding edge loops and define some of the island's main components. I can collapse it by right-clicking, convert to editable poly. So I want to have 4 divisions. I can click an edge and divide it into 4 sections. And one in the longitudinal axis of the island. Snap it in one end and move it 30 centimeters. And this edge loop basically defines our countertop overhang where we will be placing some stools. Okay, and last thing we can do is create another edge loop, snap to the bottom and raise it 10 centimeters. This will define our kickboard. In this specific example, we will not have a kickboard because we want the kitchen island to be open in the bottom. Alright, next thing is start modeling the metal framework. The island's metal framework is built from a square hollow section. It's a 2.5 by 2.5 centimeter cross section. It's gonna have, as we said before, some vertical posts and some horizontal beams. The beams are gonna be both in transverse and longitudinal directions. Okay, click the box, click and drag anywhere in my viewport, and proceed by defining the dimensions, 2.5 by 2.5 by 2.5. This is our base mesh from which we are going to create metal structure. I snap it to one end. Again, collapse it into an double poly. Go to the face selection mode. and by shift and dragging can extrude the face, can extrude it also by 2.5, and this is our post. I copy it in the element mode by shift, control, click and drag to the other corner, and I do the same for this part. Now we can create our longitudinal beams, which will connect the posts. Again, face selection, and we bridge them together to create our beams. I do this for both long and narrow side. And what we're missing is the longitudinal beam that connects the framework in the 30 centimeter overhang. I select the edges, connect them to create one edge loop, snap them, and by chamfer I can give the amount of 1.25 without any segments, and this is our division from which we can bridge the faces to create our connection. What we're missing is the legs, and to do that we can move our whole structure 10 centimeters above the floor, choose the bottom faces and extrude them and snap them to our 0. And also I can create here another one transverse beam, and I also extrude the legs. Alright, this lightweight structure will support our kitchen cabinets. Next we can continue with the kitchen countertop, kitchen island countertop. It's gonna be from inox. It has 1 centimeter thick stainless steel surface with a sink opening and a shadow gap around. Let me change the color of it. It gets hard to see when it's red. Okay, I can now start modeling by creating a plane. Snap it into our framework, erase all the divisions, and I can go to the modifier panel and sell it with the amount of 1. But at the moment we need this to be at the top, so we are unhiding our base mesh we created in the beginning, and we're snapping it at the top of it. Select the structure, snap it to the top, to the bottom of the kitchen countertop, and move it 1 centimeter below in order to create the shadow gap. This I can hide for now. And we want to close the structure so we can only see the shadow gap. And I can do that by selecting the bottom face, use the insert tool, 2.5 centimeters, and then shift drag and snap to the top of our structure, of our metal framework. I'm hiding our base mesh because I need to create some divisions, and it's gonna help me to define where this will be. This actually I don't need, but I'm gonna leave it there for now. And here I want to create the sink opening. So I'm creating an edge loop, chamfer it by 25 centimeters. Another loop, chamfering it by 20 centimeters. Select the faces I want to extrude and shift, click and drag to extrude them. The countertop is ready for the sink. We continue by modeling the side panels. I'm hiding this. And I can do that by just creating a box and snapping it to our structure. The side panels are 1.6 centimeter thick wooden panels pressed with stainless steel and will cover basically the cabinet boxes. Okay, snap it. I collapse it into an double poly. And go and give the right thickness. Select the vertices. Minus 1.6. Now what I can do, for efficiency, we model 1, we move its pivot point to the center of the base box, and use the symmetry modifier to mirror it to the other side. Changing the pivot. So, I had selected the wrong geometry. Right, I go to the modifier panel, select symmetry, y-axis, and flip it. Can also collapse this. And these panels give the island a clean modern look while hiding the dishwasher mechanisms and the cabinet woodwork. We can continue by creating the cabinet fronts, the doors, the telescopic drawers, and the back cover. I can unhide our base mesh to use as a guide for this. Snap it to the inside of our metal framework. And now I can select the faces and detach them as clones. What I can do is create some, with the chamfer modifier, create some small openings to create a small shadow gap between the cabinet fronts. We'll give the amount of 0.25 to create a 5 centimeter shadow gap. can also click the open in order to delete the in-between face. The last two cabinet fronts are going to be drawers. The top drawer is 22 centimeters high to cover the induction hob mechanism. I can add an edge loop by clicking Alt-3, snapping into the top and moving it 22 centimeters below. The remaining space I can divide into two equal sections for the lower drawers, again by doing the same Alt-3 shortcut. And I can also create here shadow gaps as we did before. And now that we have modeled our divisions, I can cell the faces by 1.6 centimeters and create our geometry. I'm again hiding our base mesh, or I can keep it. Can snap this, the back end, to this position and weld the vertices. And I can use this as a guide to create the back cover. Again, I'm detaching as clones. Select the faces. I'm deleting these two edges. I give it a cell modifier with the amount of 1.6, collapsing this into an editable poly. I'm adding an edge loop here in the middle, snapping it to one end and moving it 0.5 to the other, selecting the middle edge loop and chamfering it 0.25 to create a small shadow gap. This we don't need. And I shift, click and drag to delete, to extrude our edge and create the shadow gap. Well, I'm gonna keep the base mesh to use it as a filler geometry for a kitchen cabinet work in order not to have light leaks from the gaps. Can adjust the shape into what we want. I'm welding the vertices and the only thing left to do is model the kitchen sink opening. Okay, I see here I haven't extruded, just moved these vertices. Wow. And yeah, the last thing to complete our kitchen island's core structure is to create the sync opening to our base mesh. I'm creating a loop, chamfering it by 25 centimeters. One in the other axis, chamfering it by 20 centimeters. Select the face and shift click and drag to extrude it inwards. Snap it to the top of our kitchen countertop, and I'm moving it 20 centimeters down. Let's see if we have everything correct. We need to move these vertices. And here we have it. You can reuse these components, countertop drawers or panels, if you have followed along in your own designs. Customize them for your project. Basically, that's a wrap for part 1. We have built the metal framework, the inox countertop, the cabinet fronts, the side panels and the back covering of the cabinets. In part 2, we'll model the fixed part of the kitchen. If you found this video helpful, hit that like button, subscribe and let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you got any questions, drop them below, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys. Thanks for watching.